Hey guys, today I just want to point out random things that I've noticed in MapleStory. Also, none of the things I'll mention are that serious or game breaking to the point where I think it needs to be addressed. And with that said, let's just get right into number 1. Probably the only quote unquote real point I'm going to be making this video is Star Force balancing. There's over 50 classes in MapleStory right now, and a lot of those classes have their own unique form of strength progression. Something that sticks out to me is why do some classes who arguably have a more annoying time and harder time progressing their gear also just kinda suck? Or are middle of the road? My example being classes whose Star Force is secondary. And most of the classes that do have a Star Forceable secondary still have to work harder to get that secondary than classes that just get it from Pino, either through crafting or drops. It's an extra funding investment that's way harder than other secondaries, and you think those players get rewarded for playing those classes, but they really aren't. Potable badges have been a hot topic for a while, extra power through star forcing and bonus potentials. So you'd think a class that can star force their secondary would be ahead in power than the classes that don't, but for the vast majority of those classes, that's just not the case. Especially now with the 25-star Star Force changes, you'd think that having a 25-star secondary would mean your class is at the top of the damage charts, but you're not. Personally, I would be perfectly fine if dual blades were at the top of class tier lists because of the hurdle that is their funding, but that's just not the game state right now. And similar to that point, I think it would be nice if there were defined DPS and support roles. And I do know this will never be the case because of how solo progression works. But you think that being a DPS class that provides zero utility to parties would mean that you're a top tier DPS class, but that's also not the case. Instead, in the current meta, we have support classes that are also outputting the most damage. Bishop was a monster for a while, and now we have Lyn, Paladin, and Ilium filling that exact same spot. Honestly, it kinda sucks knowing you bring less to your party and also straight up do less damage than supports. But, like I said, I understand. It would be annoying to willingly play a support character and your solo progression is just leagues behind DPS classes and it was just balanced this way forever. So, realistically, it'll never be balanced this way. Next up, we have Mercedes Updraft. This skill allows you to ascend ropes or ladders quickly by pressing up and jump at the same time. When Mercedes first released back in 2011, this was actually a pretty good skill. Mobility used to be a lot more limited and hanging out on ladders in between killing mobs used to be way more common. But now mobility power creep is real and this skill has no use whatsoever. There's no bosses where ropes are used or maps where rope lift isn't a better option. At least Updraft is a beginner skill. Another beginner skill, but a bit more modern, is the shared Anima class skill called Spirit Affinity. This skill increases summon duration by 10%. Hoyoung was the first Anima class to release, and that boy does have summons. It works well within his kit, and I have no issues with it, but Spirit Affinity does get worse down the line. Lara was the next Anima class, and she also has summons. However, she doesn't actually get longer summon durations. Instead, she gets 1% damage per 2% summon duration. And because Spirit Affinity gives 10% summon duration, she gets 5% damage. So while it's not the worst skill to have, I don't think it impacts her gameplay all that much. And now we have the worst user of the skill, Ren. Ren has one summon and it's not impacted by summon duration whatsoever. Both forms of her summon, which are Riotous Heart and Hearts United, have a set duration and a set amount of times they can hit. Also worth mentioning, 5th and 6th job summons aren't affected by summon duration either. If I were to fix this skill across all 3 classes, I'd make it have a visible impact. Because Lara starts with the 5% bonus damage the second you make her, it's not something you'll ever see in her gameplay. It could easily be changed to impact her skills individually, or give her an even stronger damage buff because she does need it. And for Ren, they could honestly just give her anything usable. Extra damage like Lara, let her summon be affected by summon duration, maybe let her marks hit a bit harder with summon duration. Either way, right now it sits in her beginner skills and provides quite literally nothing. When resistance classes first came out, they had a pretty cool niche that they could fill in the game. Battle Mage, for example, is a mage with a large HP pool and a wide range of different auras for the party. However, in modern MapleStory, HP doesn't really do anything. HP is not a stat that's needed for mobbing anymore, and bosses either one-shot you or do percent HP. The only real way to avoid getting one-shot while face tanking hits is either a form of damage reduction or a shield of some kind. It's kind of an issue that extends outside of just Battle Mage. Like Hyper Body, does it get any real usage anymore outside of taking it for passive stats in 5th job? But because Battle Mage was designed to be this low-range mage with a lot of HP, it kind of lost that part of its identity over the years. The vast majority of mages also use their mana as their HP pool anyway, so whatever battle mage was designed around seems to be lost in the current version of the game. It was cool to be a tanky mage back then, but now your HP pool doesn't really mean much. Close to the same idea of HP not being as impactful, we have skills that provide bonus healing with potions. I'm pretty sure this is on more than one class, but my example I'm choosing is Nightwalker's Alchemist Adrenaline. This skill provides 170% bonus healing on recovery items, but not including elixirs. This is pretty useless in modern MapleStory as elixirs are super easy to get and also the only thing anyone uses. Whether you're using the pay to win elixirs, which I have no clue what they're actually called as I'm 99% free to play, or if you're using regular old elixirs and power elixirs. Elixirs are really the only potions you'll ever use, so this passive is completely dead from an actual use standpoint. So I think the easiest way to make these types of healing skills work is by letting them impact all forms of healing, whether it's from Aaron's Legion block, lifesteal, or a party member healing you. They could also lower the number from 170% so it's not game breaking and actually has some use in game. Especially as Nightwalkers are a DPS class, having your supports keep you healthier in a fight would be welcomed. But as it stands right now, pretty useless. I had a section about Wild Hunter's game design, but it's getting remastered, so let's just say Monster Park Pot and call it a day. And as a bonus, I'd like to vent about Mechanic. There's technically nothing wrong with Mechanic, but I do feel like it's lost its identity over the years. Back when it first released, it definitely felt like you were piloting a mech. Gatling guns, flamethrowers, drill hands, a jetpack, teleporters. Initially, the class felt like it had a lot of gameplay diversity, but as time has gone on, I feel like it might as well be a mage. When you think about a mechanic's playstyle, you're probably just thinking about summons. In my opinion, it definitely sucks that one of my favorite classes doesn't play like its visual identity would indicate. Like, why is the giant robot class placing down a bunch of summons? Right now, you sit in your tank form, play summons, hold down rockets, and watch the map get cleared. Bossing isn't too much different either. I think Mechanic could be very cool as a combo class. Weaving your Gatling guns, rockets, drills, flamethrower, or anything else because it is a mech could be visually interesting. Also, its jetpack sucks. The fact that you have to hold the down arrow key to start going up so the second you do start flying, you're actually flying down for the first second is a bad design choice. Nexon, please change that if nothing else. Learning to hold down when wanting to go up is quite literally bad game design. It doesn't match with anything else the game has taught you about mobility on any of the other classes. It's just dumb. Mechanic is still one of my favorite classes, I just wish it got a little more love from Nexon. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I have more that I am saving for a part 2, so if you like this video, please let me know and I'll continue the series. If I got anything wrong, or if there's anything you'd like to add to be featured in a future video, please leave a comment down below. Also, I have a stretch goal of reaching 500 subscribers before the end of the year. If you can support the channel by liking or subscribing, it would mean a lot to me. And as always, take care and I hope to see you in the next video.